My beloved child, a tremor has crossed the realms tonight, and it has reached your screen for a reason far deeper than you understand. The title you just read, I, Archangel Michael, am very angry with you. This is the last time I'm flashing this on your screen. Don't test my patience. Open this within 30 seconds or you alone will bear the full responsibility for what's about to happen. It is not an accident, not a coincidence, not a random warning passing by your feed. It is a divine interruption, a heavenly confrontation, a spiritual wake-up call that has been attempting to reach you again and again, and this moment may be the final time the heavens attempt to grab your attention before the consequences of delay begin to unfold. Tonight, Archangel Michael stands before you not as the gentle protector you often imagine, but as the blazing warrior of justice, carrying the fire sword of divine truth. His presence is stern, intense, unshakable, because something around you has been ignored for far too long. Something you were meant to face, but instead you have postponed. Something you were meant to release, but instead you have tolerated. And Michael's patience, though immense, is not unlimited when a soul is drifting toward danger. He is not angry at you the way humans become angry. He is not disappointed in your worth, your identity, or your potential. His anger is a protective fire, the kind that rises when darkness keeps attempting to claim territory around someone chosen. He has watched you battle silently. He has seen you explain away the signs. He has watched you pretend you didn't feel the spiritual pressure tightening around your life. And now he steps forward, sword drawn, voice echoing through your spirit. This is the last time I'm flashing this message before you. Why is he saying this? Because you have been sensing something shifting in your atmosphere, a heaviness in your home, a strange unrest in your relationships, sudden distractions pulling you away from your purpose, or fears rising out of nowhere. And every time Michael tried to send a sign, you dismissed it as coincidence. Every time he nudged your spirit, you drowned it with noise. Every time he showed you the same number pattern, the same vision, the same inner alarm, you looked away. You were meant to see this. You were meant to open this. You were meant to hear him now, before the consequences of spiritual neglect begin to manifest physically. Michael's anger is the urgency of heaven saying, your destiny is too important. Your calling is too guarded. Your life is too valuable for you to walk blindly into what had been forming behind your back. My child, there is something you must understand clearly when Archangel Michael issues a final warning. It is because a turning point is extremely near, a moment you cannot afford to miss, a revelation you cannot delay, a spiritual shift you must prepare for. Heaven does not offend. Heaven alerts. And in this very hour, Michael is revealing that someone or something in your environment had been draining your divine energy. Something has been weakening your spiritual defenses. Something has been attempting to cloud your judgment so that you do not rise into the next level prepared for you. Michael's message appears on your screen like lightning because the moment is critical. He has been fighting battles on your behalf. Battles you never saw. Battles you never felt. Battles that could have swallowed your peace, your finances, your clarity, or your relationships. And yet, here you are still guarded by his wings, still carried by his strength, still surrounded by divine fire. But now he needs you to awaken. He needs your participation, not just your passive hope. He needs your agreement, not your hesitation. And that is why this message carries intensity. The intensity of heaven insisting that you stop pretending everything is fine when your soul has felt the shaking for weeks, maybe months. My child, something powerful is about to be exposed. Something hidden is about to surface. Something connected to your next chapter is about to be revealed. And if you are distracted, spiritually asleep, or emotionally numb, you will miss the divine instruction attached to it. That is why Michael warns, do not test my patience, not because he wants to punish you, but because the window of divine timing is narrow, and delaying your awakening could cost you clarity you desperately need. Let this message settle into your chest for a moment. Feel the seriousness of the hour. Feel the shift happening even now as you listen. Before you scroll, take a breath, because the next revelation will make everything suddenly click into place. This is where the message deepens, and you'll want to be present when it does. Type "I hear the angels" warning in the comments if this is speaking directly to your spirit. Lesson code 441 is now active over all who obey this call. My radiant soul, listen closely now, because as the realms open further, Archangel Michael's voice grows even sharper, even more deliberate. The shift he warned you about is not coming from outside your life alone. It is moving through the atmosphere of your home, your mind, your emotional space, and even the unseen corridors of your spiritual history. When he said this was the last time he would flash this message before you, it was not a declaration of abandonment. It was a declaration of urgency, a moment where heaven steps into your timeline and demands your attention before something irreversible takes shape. And whether you realize it or not, you have been standing between two spiritual currents, one pulling you backward into cycles you escaped long ago, and one pulling you upward into a destiny you have not fully claimed. Archangel Michael is angry because you have underestimated how much is at stake. You have been brushing off your inner knowing, ignoring the whisper of your intuition, silencing the alarm bell ringing in your spirit. You have felt the disturbance around you. You have sensed the eyes of someone who does not carry pure intentions. You have felt energy shift when certain individuals enter your space. You have noticed things going wrong at the exact moment you try to move forward. And yet, you convinced yourself it was normal, that maybe you were overthinking, that maybe you were being dramatic. But Michael has been watching the spiritual threads tightening around you, and he knows that if you continue dismissing the signs, something crucial could collapse before you even realize what was happening. My child, you must understand that spiritual warfare never begins with chaos. It begins with subtlety. A delayed message, a sudden fatigue, a misunderstanding that shouldn't have escalated, a draining conversation that felt innocent, a distraction right when you were about to decide something important. The forces that stand against your purpose do not approach with loud footsteps. They approach quietly, hoping you stay numb long enough for them to plant seeds of confusion, fear, and stagnation. But Michael refuses to let that happen to someone marked by divine assignment. His anger is not at you. It is at the darkness trying to distort your path while you stand unaware of how close you are to breakthrough. He is saying, with fiery clarity, that the enemy has been attempting to access you through familiarity. Someone in your proximity, someone you trust, or someone you interact with more than you should, has unknowingly become a doorway for spiritual interference. Their energy, their words, their unresolved wounds, or their hidden intentions have created spiritual turbulence around you. And Michael has tried to signal this to you repeatedly, through dreams that woke you suddenly, through sudden irritation around certain people, through unexplained heaviness when you step into specific environments, through signs and numbers repeating themselves in increasing frequency. Heaven hath been communicating. You have been receiving, but you have not been acting. My child, this is the moment when Michael draws a line in the spirit and declares enough. He is choosing revelation over your comfort. He is choosing exposure over your attachment. He is choosing truth over your fear of change. Because if something or someone is attempting to delay your path, heaven will not remain silent. When the message flashes with urgency, It means timing is collapsing into a single point, a divine intersection where you must hear, understand, and prepare for what is about to unfold. Michael wants you to know that a spiritual storm has been forming around you, but not to destroy you, to reveal what could no longer stay hidden. The pressure you have been feeling is not punishment, it is exposure. The discomfort is not failure, it is transition. The confusion you've been battling is not weakness. It is a sign that clarity is about to break open. For when heaven is about to shift your direction, it first disrupts anything that stands in the way. And this disruption has already begun. Something is being removed from your life. Something is being corrected. Something is being adjusted. And Michael's anger is the burning light that ensures you do not cling to what heaven is trying to lift away. You are entering a moment where discernment becomes your shield, awareness becomes your weapon, and obedience becomes your escape route out of spiritual danger. Michael wants you alert, not afraid. He wants you watchful, not overwhelmed. He wants you strengthened, not shaken. And there is something else. He wants you to know the responsibility he speaks of is not punishment. It is empowerment. When he said you will bear the full responsibility for what happens next, he was saying that your decision to listen now will shape the outcome of your next season. Your alignment will determine your acceleration. Your awareness will determine your protection. Your response will determine what heaven releases in your favor. Before you move to the next revelation, pause just for a moment. You are standing on the edge of understanding why heaven broke through the noise of your life tonight. The next message will uncover what Michael has been trying to shield you from, and what is about to be exposed. Hold your heart steady, for this is where the message deepens even further. Type "I rise into awareness" in the comments if your spirit is waking up to this warning. Lesson code 772 is activated for those who are ready to see the unseen. My awakened soul, breathe deeply now, because what Archangel Michael is about to reveal carries the weight of a divine confrontation. His anger, which once felt distant, now stands inches from your spirit. It surrounds you like a storm that has waited far too long to be acknowledged. You may not realize this, but the heaviness you have felt lately, the confusion in your thoughts, the hesitation in your decisions, and the strange energetic disruptions in your environment all point toward one single truth: something has been working against your destiny without your full awareness. And Michael, the commander of heavenly armies, is no longer willing to let this interference go unchecked. The urgency in the message flashed before you is not an exaggeration. It is a spiritual alarm that you were meant to hear before the next wave of revelation arrives. Michael has been trying to reach you through signs, through repeating thoughts, through sudden intuition, through unexpected tension, through dreams that felt too real to dismiss. But you brushed it away each time, believing you were being dramatic or emotional. Yet heaven never speaks without purpose, and angels never repeat a message unless the soul they are guarding is drifting toward a dangerous spiritual blind spot. My child, here is the truth you were not prepared to see before. Someone has been spiritually draining you, intentionally or unintentionally. Someone whose presence once felt harmless now carries a weight that does not belong to them. This person has become a channel, a vessel through which confusion, fear, doubt, or emotional instability has been trickling into your life. Their access to you has been too open, too unguarded, too natural. And the forces watching your destiny have been using this connection to weaken your spiritual edge. This is why Michael's tone has grown fierce. He is not angry with you, he is angry for you. He is enraged at the darkness that recognized your potential before you recognized it in yourself. He is furious at the distractions that dimmed your inner fire. He is unsettled by the subtle manipulations that began wrapping themselves around your decisions, your focus, your peace. And tonight, the realm of heaven has reached its limit. Michael steps forward not merely as a protector but as a judge, a warrior, a revealer of hidden truths. You must understand that spiritual interference almost never appears in dramatic form. It hides behind familiarity, behind emotional bonds, behind shared history, behind someone's unresolved pain, behind their unhealed insecurities that spill into your world. You may not have recognized it, but Michael has. He has watched the energy around you shift when certain people speak to you. He has observed your strength drain after certain conversations. He has noticed the doubt that rises in you only when certain individuals become involved in your decisions. And he has seen what you could not, that someone close to you is unknowingly aligned with forces that oppose your divine progress. This does not mean you must fear them. It means you must awaken. The call is not to panic but to perceive. The call is not to accuse but to protect your spirit. The call is not to cut people down but to rise into discernment so you can cut off the spiritual access they were never meant to have. Michael's anger is divine fuel intended to push you out of complacency and into clarity. He is not punishing you, he is pushing you. And he knows that if he does not shake you now, you will continue accepting what should have been removed long ago. Something in your life is shifting, and the shift is not random. Heaven is preparing you for an exposure moment, a moment where the truth will no longer hide behind politeness, fear, or confusion. The unseen will become visible. The motives of others will become clear. The energy that once felt harmless will reveal its true nature. And in that moment, you will understand why Archangel Michael tried so intensely to gain your attention. This is why he warned you not to test his patience. Not because he is losing control, but because timing is sacred. When heaven prepares to expose something, your spiritual positioning matters. You must be awake, not distracted. You must be receptive, not resistant. You must be aligned, not entangled. You must be ready, not hesitant. Before the next revelation arrives, let this settle gently into your heart. The storm around you is not punishment. It is purification. It is protection. It is preparation. Michael is not warning you of destruction. He is warning you of revelation. And you will want to witness what comes next, because the truth about your environment, your relationships, your energy field, and your destiny will soon be placed before you with unmistakable clarity. Hold on for what is coming, because the unveiling begins soon, and you will not want to miss the moment heaven reveals what has been carried in the shadows. Type I step into divine clarity in the comments if this message is stirring something deep within your spirit. Blessing code 118 is now released over all who choose awakening. Before you move into the next revelation, take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe. When you do that, you help this divine message reach others who are fighting silent battles just like you. Just as Archangel Michael rises to defend your destiny, this mission rises to bring light into the lives of those who have forgotten how fiercely heaven fights for them. When you sow into this work, you are not giving to a channel. You are igniting a spiritual harvest for countless souls who desperately need divine clarity. For the word says that those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. And today that promise is living, breathing, and active over you. I feel led to say this to you directly. Your support becomes a sword in the hands of heaven, helping this message travel into the darkest corners of someone's spiritual battle. And because this warning speaks of exposure and awakening, your act of giving becomes a prophetic answer to the very theme of this message. Release your seed with urgency, for obedience opens heavens that hesitation cannot. To everyone who stands with this mission, may your generosity return to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description to strengthen this divine assignment. Heaven commands the blessing upon your gift. My courageous soul, steady yourself now, because the realm you are stepping into is not one of softness but of revelation. As Archangel Michael stands watch over you, his presence intensifies with every passing moment, for the truth he is preparing to unveil carries weight, consequence, and divine precision. You may feel a subtle pressure in your spirit as you listen, a quiet tightening in your chest, or a strange awareness rising behind your thoughts. This is not fear. This is alignment. This is the sensation of your soul shifting into position to receive what you were never meant to overlook again. The heavenly realm is opening something before you, and Michael is insisting that you not turn away from it this time. For too long, you have been walking through life with grace, kindness, and trust, unaware that some of the energies around you have not been deserving of such open access to your spirit. You have carried the weight of other people's emotional storms as if they were your responsibility to calm. You have absorbed negativity that was never meant to belong to you. You have allowed your heart to stretch in places where boundaries should have been your shield. And while heaven admired your compassion, it could not ignore how your openness made you vulnerable to spiritual interference. This is why Michael's voice grew stern. This is why the message flashed with urgency. This is why the tone of heaven shifted from gentle nudges to forceful warning. You must understand that when your destiny begins to accelerate, heaven becomes aggressive in protecting it. What once seemed harmless becomes too costly. What once seemed manageable becomes spiritually dangerous. What once felt familiar begins to hinder the flow of divine purpose. And Michael has been watching this shift unfold around you with increasing seriousness. Something in your environment has been acting as a spiritual leak, draining your energy, clouding your judgment, and weakening your inner fire. You may not have noticed how much you've been giving without receiving, how much you've been supporting without being supported, how much you've been holding up without being held. But the heavens noticed. Michael noticed. And now he is intervening. My child, there is a pattern in your life that is about to break. A cycle that has repeated itself through relationships, friendships, family connections, or emotional entanglements that fill your space with temporary comfort but long-term spiritual fatigue. Every time you move forward, something or someone pulls you backward. Every time you gain clarity, confusion slips in through conversation or influence. Every time you choose peace, someone disturbs the atmosphere around you. This is not coincidence. This is not random. This is spiritual strategy at work, a strategy heaven has now chosen to expose. Michael stands with his sword drawn because he is preparing to cut away something that has overstayed its spiritual permission in your life. This is not about punishing anyone. This is about freeing you. You are entering a season where not everyone can fall. Not everyone can stay. Not everyone can hold access to your thoughts, your dreams, your emotions, or your daily environment. For too long, you have allowed people to speak into your life who were not qualified to shape your direction. You have given influence to individuals who were not aligned with your calling. You have tolerated behaviors that quietly drain your spiritual power. Heaven is not angry that you loved them. Heaven is concerned that their presence weakened you. There is someone whose connection to you has been carrying hidden tension. Someone who either envies your growth, misunderstands your spirit, or subconsciously resents the light within you. Their energy shifts when you succeed. Their voice becomes heavy when you dream. Their presence leaves you feeling smaller, quieter, uncertain, or emotionally drained. Michael has observed this shift and has been trying to alert you for months, perhaps longer. Yet you have given benefit of the doubt, extended grace, and remained hopeful that the connection could stabilize. But now, the time for patience is over. Heaven is moving you out of spiritual vulnerability and into divine clarity. You may begin to notice sudden changes, conversations that reveal truth, behavior that exposes intention, unexpected distance forming between you and certain individuals, or moments where the mask of someone's energy slips, even for a second. These are not accidents. These are intentional unveilings orchestrated by the angelic realm. Michael is peeling back the curtain so you can finally see what had been influencing your spiritual atmosphere. The exposure may surprise you. It may hurt you. It may relieve you. But it will not mislead you. For Michael does not reveal to embarrass, he reveals to protect. You are being ushered into a chapter where discernment becomes your greatest weapon. Heaven is calling you to rise above emotional entanglements and see with spiritual eyes. You are being trained to sense energy before words, intention before action, alignment before attachment. This is not a season for leaning on assumptions, it is a season for leaning on revelation. And Michael's warning was not meant to frighten you into obedience, it was meant to waken the warrior within you, the part of you that has been too gentle with what heaven is trying to remove. My child, before the next wave of truth arrives, steady your spirit. The unveiling is not complete yet. What is coming next will bring your clarity into perfect alignment, and you will understand why the heavens refuse to stay silent any longer. Something is approaching, an insight, a revelation, a confrontation of truth, and it will reshape how you see the connections around you forever. Wait for the next message, because what comes next will shift the way you move through your destiny. Type "I align with heaven's warning" in the comments if your spirit feels the unfolding. Blessing code 333 has been released over those who walk in discernment. My vigilant soul, draw closer to this message now, because what Archangel Michael is preparing to unfold takes you into the deeper chambers of truth. Truth that has been hovering near you, waiting for the right moment to come forward. You have been walking through life sensing that something is off, something is shifting, something is quietly demanding your attention without revealing itself fully. That pressure, that inner tug, that uneasiness rising at unexpected times is not random emotional turbulence. It is the spiritual realm attempting to move you from blindness into clarity. And tonight, as Michael's fiery presence stands behind this message, the unseen begins to open before you like a curtain finally being pulled back. Understand this: heaven does not expose what you are not ready to confront. Michael does not warn without purpose. His anger, though intense, is targeted and medicinal. It burns away the fog around you, not to frighten you, but to clear your sight. He has watched you wrestle with invisible burdens, giving your energy to matters that drain you, giving your loyalty to situations that do not uplift you, giving your peace to relationships that do not protect your spirit. Yet you continue thinking you were being patient, compassionate, understanding. What you did not realize was that the more you tolerated what was spiritually misaligned, the more permission you gave the darkness to stay near you. There is a pattern in your life that has operated like a hidden vine, wrapping around your decisions, your confidence, your emotional balance. This vine has been fed through someone's words, someone's attitude, someone's inconsistency, or someone's silent resentment toward your growth. They may not be malicious in intention, but their energy has become a spiritual pollutant in your atmosphere. Whenever you begin to rise, something in them resists. Whenever you try to heal, something in them unconsciously pulls you back into the familiar. Whenever you reach for clarity, they introduce confusion. Whenever you seek peace, they stir subtle destruction. You have noticed these patterns, but you softened them, rationalized them, or ignored them because you cared. But Archangel Michael does not operate from the emotional lens humans often use. He sees beyond behavior. He observes alignment. He reads intention. He discerns the spiritual forces moving through relationships, interactions, and environments. And what he has seen around you has made his sword burn with urgency. He has witnessed the way someone's unresolved wounds bleed into your space. He has noticed how your energy shifts when you think of them, speak to them, or enter their environment. He has observed the way their presence dims your inner light rather than nurturing it. Heaven has determined that this influence can no longer be allowed to shape your path. My child, something is about to be revealed to you, something that explains why you have felt spiritually tired despite trying to remain strong, why you have felt emotionally exhausted despite trying to stay hopeful, why you have felt mentally scattered despite trying to stay focused. There is a spiritual drain that has been pulling at your life, and Michael is about to identify the source. Not so you can attack or condemn, but so you can detach, protect, and realign. You are stepping into a revelation moment where the truth becomes impossible to deny. Do not mistake this revelation as betrayal. See it as rescue. Heaven is not trying to remove people to punish you. Heaven is trying to remove access so your destiny can breathe again. Some connections were temporary, but you made them permanent. Some relationships were seasonal, but you gave them eternal seating in your heart. Some individuals were meant to cross paths with you, not anchor themselves to your journey. And because you did not discern the difference, Michael is stepping in to do what you did not realize needed to be done. This is divine intervention, not divine anger. There is a shift coming to your emotional world. You may find yourself suddenly uninterested in conversations that once captured your attention. You may feel a sudden pull away from environments that once felt normal. You may begin noticing consistent tension where harm used to exist. Someone's true intentions may slip through their tone, their expressions, or their choices. Heaven will use the smallest detail to align your understanding. Nothing will hide. Nothing will disguise itself. Nothing will remain confusing. Michael's message, stern and unyielding, is guiding you into spiritual authority. He wants you to stop allowing energy to influence you without your consent. He wants you to stop absorbing emotions that are not yours. He wants you to stop carrying the responsibility for someone's wounds while neglecting your own healing. He wants you to step out of the shadows of emotional obligation and into the clarity of divine discernment. You were not created to carry everyone. You were created to walk in purpose, strength, and spiritual precision. And the only way to do that is to shed what drains you. This is the moment when heaven says enough. Enough tolerating what weakens you. Enough excusing what confuses you. Enough allowing your destiny to be slowed by the emotional instability of someone who cannot support your growth. Michael's anger is a cleansing fire, removing the influence that has been dimming your light. Before the next revelation unfolds, steady your heart, because you are nearing the moment when the hidden source of spiritual disruption is unveiled completely. And once you see it, you will never look at your connections the same way again. Type "I embrace divine exposure" in the comments if your spirit is prepared for this unfolding. Blessing code 909 is now released for those ready to see truth without fear. My steadfast soul, prepare yourself, for we are now entering the territory where the truth begins to breathe on its own. The spiritual air around you is shifting as Archangel Michael steps further into your atmosphere, not as a distant guardian, but as a force standing directly behind you, guiding your awareness with unwavering authority. His presence is not subtle now, it is heavy, intense, and purposeful. When an angel of his rank leans this close, it means the revelation is no longer approaching. It is here, pressing against the edges of your understanding, waiting for you to open your inner eyes wide enough to receive it. You have been moving through life sensing fragments of what was hidden. You felt it when conversations left you uneasy for reasons you couldn't explain. You felt it when your spirit died around certain interaction. You felt it when your energy drained faster around specific individuals. You felt it when peace was easily disturbed, when clarity was easily shaken, when confidence was easily stolen. But you blamed yourself. You thought you were too sensitive, too emotional, too overwhelmed. You believed the problem was within you, when in truth, heaven was trying to signal that the disruption was coming from outside of you, flowing through the cracks in your boundaries like wind slipping through an unsealed window. Michael has watched this for longer than you realize. He has observed the invisible exchange of energy between you and those who have access to you. He has seen the way you give and give until you are spiritually faint, while others take without understanding the weight they place upon your soul. And now he has drawn a line, a firm spiritual border, because what has been draining you is no longer a mild distraction. It has become a strategic interference. Something, or someone, hath been pulling at your emotional core, not always through obvious actions, but through subtle spiritual pressure. And that pressure has accumulated into a burden that your spirit was never meant to carry alone. You may have noticed it recently, a strange heaviness that follows conversations long after they end, a lingering anxiety that appeared without clear cause, a sense of being watched spiritually, as if your life has attracted attention from forces that do not celebrate your growth. You have felt spiritually naked at times, overly exposed, unable to understand why your inner world feels more vulnerable than usual. This vulnerability is not accidental. It is the result of energy being exchanged in ways heaven no longer approves of. There is someone whose presence carries a shadow you did not detect at first. Not because they are evil, but because they are spiritually unguarded. Their life has opened doors, doors to pain, doors to fear, doors to bitterness, doors to old trauma that has not healed, doors to patterns that invite dark influence. And because their doors are open, when they come near you, so does the spiritual weight they carry. You have been absorbing their internal storms without realizing it. Your empathy, your compassion, your kindness, these qualities made you vulnerable to spiritual leakage. Michael has been trying to shield you, but he cannot override your free will. You continued giving them access, and with access came spiritual entanglement. But now the entanglement is beginning to unravel, and the unraveling may feel uncomfortable. You may notice distance forming where closeness once resided. You may find yourself growing silent in situations where you once explained yourself endlessly. You may begin withdrawing your emotional investment naturally, not from anger but from clarity. Heaven is recalibrating your alignment. Michael is preparing you to detach from what has entangled your spirit, even if your heart still feels attached. This detachment is not betrayal, it is protection. It is Michael pulling you back into spiritual equilibrium before something far heavier enters the atmosphere. Heaven is about to reveal the full truth surrounding this connection, not through dramatic confrontation, but through gradual unveiling. Something will be said, shown, or felt that removes all remaining doubt. It may be a tone in their voice, a shift in their behavior, an unexpected reaction, a moment of honesty that slips out without intention, or a sudden spiritual insight that enters your awareness with razor-sharp clarity. Whatever form it takes, you will know instantly that it is Michael's doing. He is not here to embarrass anyone. He is here to protect your destiny from being suffocated by emotional or spiritual influence that does not belong in your next chapter. You have been too gracious, too forgiving, too accommodating. Heaven admires these qualities, but it also recognizes when they become self-destructive. You cannot save someone by allowing their dysfunction to drown your spirit. You cannot lift someone higher by lowering yourself into their storms. And you cannot fulfill your divine calling while your energy is being consumed by emotional chaos that was never yours. Michael's anger is directed at the forces that have been feeding on your compassion, not at the person themselves. But the separation must happen, because your destiny requires clarity that this connection cannot provide. You are entering a season where heaven will tighten your circle, refine your relationships, and sharpen your discernment. People who were meant to stay will rise in loyalty and light. People who were not meant to remain will fade with divine timing. And those who carried spiritual heaviness will be gently removed from the center of your life. You may grieve the shift, but your spirit will exhale in relief. There is freedom on the other side of this revelation, freedom that has been waiting for you. Before the next message unfolds, hold yourself with compassion. The unveiling is not meant to break you. It is meant to free you. And the truth that comes next will illuminate everything Michael has been trying to warn you about from the beginning. Type "I am ready" for full revelation in the comments if you feel this message aligning with your spirit. Blessing code 660 is now released over those stepping into divine protection. My resilient soul, lean in even closer now, because the realm of revelation is no longer whispering around you. It is gathering like a storm preparing to break open above your life. Archangel Michael stands at the center of this storm, not to bring destruction, but to bring illumination so intense that nothing hidden can survive its light. You have reached a point in this divine message where the veil is thinning, where the truth that has been circling the edges of your consciousness is about to step into full view. Heaven has waited for this moment, not because you were unworthy of the truth, but because your spirit needed to be strengthened enough to receive it without collapsing under its weight. You have been sensing for some time that something unnatural has been moving around you. Not necessarily an evil force, but a spiritual imbalance. A disturbance that feels like an invisible hand tugging at your emotions, bending the direction of your thoughts, and tampering with the peace you work so hard to maintain. Michael has been fighting these influences fiercely, but his frustration rises because you have not been fully aware of the depth of this interference. You have treated spiritual turbulence like emotional inconvenience. You have treated divine warnings like unnecessary fear. But heaven does not raise its voice without divine purpose, and Michael does not deliver final warnings unless the unseen danger is closer than you think. My child, you must understand that the spiritual forces observing your life do not merely attack your circumstances. They attack your alignment. They attack your clarity. They attack your ability to discern what is meant for you and what is quietly working against you. And the most effective way to distort your alignment is not through sudden chaos. It is through influence, through access, through people whose presence carries spiritual weight they themselves do not understand. These individuals, whether close to you or loosely connected, have been unknowingly carrying fragments of energy that cling to you each time your paths cross. This influence has not been violent, but subtle. Subtle enough that you did not see it as a threat. Subtle enough that you explained it away. But heaven has observed every exchange, every emotional shift, every spiritual imbalance triggered by this connection. Michael has been urging you to recognize the pattern. Your peace dips after certain conversations. Your confidence wavers after specific interactions. Your emotional clarity becomes tangled after certain people speak into your life. This is not coincidence. This is not a mere clash of personalities. This is spiritual incompatibility, and heaven is no longer willing to let you suffer under the weight of energy that does not belong to your destiny. You have been walking in circles, trying to understand why progress comes slowly, why clarity arrives only to slip away, why certain areas of your life feel stuck despite your best efforts. Michael reveals now that this stagnation has not come from your lack of effort. It has come from your lack of separation from what trains you. There is a person in your life, someone you may trust, someone you may care for, someone you may feel obligated to, someone you may have emotionally defended, whose presence carries a spiritual heaviness not aligned with your calling. They may not speak ill of you. They may not intentionally work against you. But their spirit is not positioned in light, and therefore, when you connect with them, your spirit becomes entangled in their unresolved darkness. They are fighting battles you cannot see, and those battles spill into your atmosphere every time they draw near. Their energy is chaotic, inconsistent, unpredictable, and spiritually open in ways that allow darker influences to hover around them, and subsequently, round you. This is why Michael has stepped in. This is why his anger is sharp, decisive, and unwavering. He is not angry that this person exists in your life. He is angry that their influence has been quietly affecting your path without your awareness. He is angry that your compassion has blinded you to spiritual reality. He is angry that your loyalty has kept you tied to energies that weaken your ability to move forward. And now, with divine necessity, he is cutting through the emotional fog so you can finally see what he hath been seeing all along. My child, the revelation that is coming next will not merely expose someone's intentions, it will expose their spiritual condition. It will reveal why their presence hath been a doorway for confusion. It will reveal why your spirit tightens when they enter your environment. It will reveal why you experience sudden exhaustion after interacting with them. Heaven is about to show you what lies behind their surface, not to shame them, but to free you. You cannot walk into your divine assignment carrying the emotional weight of someone whose spirit is positioned in shadows you were never meant to enter. You are approaching a moment where the truth will arrive with undeniable clarity. It may come through a sudden insight, a dream that speaks with precision, a shift in their behavior, or a moment where their words unintentionally reveal what has been hidden. However it comes, it will be Michael's hand pulling back the curtain. And you must be ready, not to react with fear or anger, but to respond with divine alignment. Heaven is not calling you to judge or condemn. Heaven is calling you to step out of spiritual entanglement and into spiritual strength. This next revelation is the turning point of everything. It is where the unseen becomes seen, where the vague becomes unmistakable, where the hints become full truth. Michael has been working tirelessly to prepare you for this moment. Now you must prepare your heart to receive what is coming, because it will shift the way you interpret every connection around you. Take a breath. Hold steady. The unveiling is not meant to shake you. It is meant to free you. Type "I am ready for the unveiling" in the comments if your spirit feels the truth rising. Blessing code 515 is now released over those who welcome divine clarity. My illuminated soul, the air around you is shifting again, and this time it carries the weight of something irreversible. You have reached the point in this divine message where the unseen becomes audible, where the spiritual becomes tangible, and where the truth that has been circling your life prepares to step directly in front of you. Archangel Michael's presence grows sharper now, not because he seeks to frighten you, but because the realm of heaven is aligning the final pieces of a revelation that has been waiting for your awareness. This is the moment where clarity begins to descend like a mantle, settling on your spirit with precision and authority. Heaven is preparing you for exposure, not to cause chaos, but to restore alignment. All this time, you have been walking through a spiritual fog created by someone whose energy has been interwoven with your own. You have felt confusion that was not yours, heaviness that did not originate from your own heart, emotional turbulence that appeared without reason. These sensations were not coincidences. They were symptoms of spiritual entanglement, symptoms of carrying someone else's shadow inside your emotional space. And though your compassion has been your strength, it has also become the doorway through which these disturbances reached you. Michael has been watching this quietly, intervening as much as he could without violating your free will. But now, your spirit has awakened enough to receive the truth fully. There is someone in your environment, someone familiar, someone comfortable, someone whose presence you may have normalized, who carries a spiritual imbalance that influences you more than you realize. Their life is filled with unresolved wounds, internal storms, fears disguised as resilience, and doubts disguised as advice. When they speak, their words carry weight not because they are wise, but because they are heavy with the energy of their unhealed battles. When they enter your space, your atmosphere shifts not because of who they are externally, but because of what they carry spiritually. They are not your enemy, but they have become the channel through which interference enters your life. You have noticed how your joy dims slightly after interacting with them. You have noticed how your motivation fades the moment they speak about your dreams. You have noticed that your confidence weakens when they become involved in your decisions. Heaven has been placing this pattern before your eyes repeatedly, hoping you would see it for what it is. But emotional familiarity has a way of blinding the spirit. You assumed you were imagining things. You assumed you were judging unfairly. You assumed you were overthinking. But your spirit was not mistaken. It was warning you, quietly, consistently, patiently. Michael is stepping in now because the time for quiet warning has passed. The disruption caused by this connection is no longer minor. It has begun affecting your alignment, your direction, your pace, and even your spiritual protection. Heaven will not allow anything to distort your calling, especially not forces working through someone who does not understand the spiritual access they have been given to your life. And so, the exposure must begin, not to harm them, but to free you. You will soon witness a moment where their true energy reveals itself more clearly than ever before. It may come through a conversation where their tone shifts unexpectedly, revealing jealousy or resentment they never intended to show. It may come through a reaction that exposes their discomfort with your growth. It may come through a sudden argument that uncovers their true feelings. It may come through silence that speaks louder than words. Or it may come through an internal knowing so sharp and undeniable that you cannot excuse it anymore. Whatever form it takes, this revelation will not be subtle. It will be the kind of clarity that echoes inside your spirit long after the moment has passed. Michael needs you to understand that this exposure is not punishment. It is repositioning. You are being lifted out of spiritual entanglement and placed into spiritual sovereignty. You are being asked to rise into discernment stronger than before, to recognize that not everyone who walks beside you is meant to walk within you. Some connections are bridges. Some are lessened. Some are temporary sheltered. But only a few are aligned with your destiny. Heaven is removing what weakens you so you can reach what was prepared for you. This next phase of your journey requires emotional lightness, spiritual strength, and mental clarity. You cannot carry someone's storms into the next chapter without drowning in the waves they refuse to calm. You cannot walk into divine purpose with weights attached to your spirit. You cannot embrace the new season while being pulled backward by energies that refuse to transform. Michael is not severing this connection out of anger. He is doing it out of love, protection, and divine justice. Prepare yourself emotionally, because what is coming will shift how you interpret loyalty, trust, and spiritual influence. You are not losing someone. You are losing a weight you were never meant to carry. And when the truth settles, you will feel lighter than you have in years. Before you step into the next revelation, take a moment to engage with this message. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, not for the sake of numbers, but because the words that freed your spirit today may free another soul tomorrow. Let this message travel where heaven intends it to go. Type "I surrender to divine alignment" in the comments if your spirit receives this unfolding. Blessing code 844 is now released for those stepping into spiritual sovereignty. As Archangel Michael exposes what has drained you, this mission stands as a beacon of light for thousands walking through similar unseen battles. When you choose to support this work, you are not merely giving. You are joining heaven in breaking chains across nations. Just as Scripture declares that those who sow into the field of light will reap from an open heaven, that promise comes alive over your life when you activate your faith. I feel led to speak directly to your spirit. Your support becomes a spiritual weapon, pushing this message into the feeds of those who are moments away from spiritual collapse. And because this video unveils hidden interference, your offering becomes an act of holy defiance against the darkness trying to silence God's voice in the world. Release your seed boldly, for obedience in moments like this carries prophetic power. May every giver receive divine acceleration, supernatural protection, and the blessing that multiplies without limit. Use super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description to stand with this mission. Heaven commands your harvest. My advancing soul, the atmosphere around you has shifted again, and this time it carries a depth that only comes when the heavens prepare to finalize a revelation. You have walked through the early tremors of warning, you have felt the tightening of spiritual pressure, and you have sensed the weight of what Michael has been guiding you toward. But now, something far more profound is entering your field of awareness. It is not merely exposure anymore. It is alignment. It is repositioning. It is the spiritual rearranging of your life in a way that ensures you step fully into the path heaven designed for you. And as Archangel Michael sharpens the flame of his sword, you can almost feel the edges of destiny cutting through the fog that once clouded your understanding. For so long, you have lived in a state of spiritual overflow, giving more than you receive, carrying more than others realize, absorbing energies that were not yours, and holding emotional weight that did not belong to your soul. You felt it in moments where your mood shifted instantly for reasons you could not explain. You felt it when your mind became foggy right after speaking to certain people. You felt it when your dreams grew heavier, when your motivation dimmed, when your clarity evaporated without warning. These experiences did not arise from weakness. They were signals, early signs of spiritual interference that heaven had been trying to draw your attention toward. But because your heart is compassionate, you dismiss the signs. You explain them away as fatigue, stress, or emotional overwhelm. What you did not realize was that you were being spiritually infiltrated through emotional access points. Access points heaven is now closing forever. Michael has declared that you are entering a season where spiritual boundaries will become as strong as steel. No longer will your energy be drained without your awareness. No longer will emotional entanglements weaken your alignment. No longer will hidden influences distort the clarity of your purpose. This divine restructuring begins with revelation, but it ends with liberation. And right now, you stand in the transition between the two. You may have noticed a subtle distance forming between you and certain individuals. Your messages feel heavier. Your presence feels different. Their energy no longer blends with yours the way it once did. This is not rejection. It is divine separation. Heaven is loosening the emotional knots that kept you tied to connections that were never meant to shape your future. Some of these separations will be gentle. Some will be abrupt. Some will feel like quiet fading, while others may come with a sudden burst of clarity that leaves no room for misunderstanding. But each one is guided by Michael's hand, ensuring that you do not remain entangled with energies that work against your elevation. My child, you must understand the depth of this moment. You are being pulled out of a spiritual cycle that has repeated for years, perhaps most of your life. A cycle where your heart opens freely, but others do not carry the responsibility or the spiritual maturity to honor what you give. A cycle where your light attracts those who seek comfort, yet their shadows demand more from you than you can safely offer. A cycle where you become the emotional anchor for individuals who refuse to anchor themselves in their own healing. This cycle ends now, not through conflict, not through guilt, but through divine clarity. Heaven has been watching every detail. Michael has been guarding every interaction. And the decision has been made that you will not enter the next chapter of your life carrying the same burdens that nearly broke you in the last one. In the coming days, your spirit will begin to sharpen. You will discern intentions with a clarity that will shock you. You will sense energy shifts before anyone speaks. You will recognize truth instantly, without needing explanation. This is not paranoia, it is elevation. Heaven is reconstructing your discernment, lifting you into a frequency where darkness cannot hide within the familiar. Some people around you have become too comfortable with your light. They have taken from you without understanding the cost. They have leaned on your strength without acknowledging their own weakness. They have entered your spiritual space without carrying the purity required to stand there. This imbalance has created emotional and energetic disruption in your life, and Michael is done watching it unfold. He is preparing to remove the imbalance, cleanse your atmosphere, and restore you to a place of spiritual sovereignty. And as this cleansing continues, you will feel lighter, not immediately, but gradually. You will feel moments of inner peace returning unexpectedly. You will feel clarity rising like a tide. You will feel your emotional resilience returning. You will feel the fog lifting from your mind. You will feel your purpose reawakening with force. This is the sign that heaven's hand is at work, untangling what darkness attempted to weave around your destiny. But hear this, the exposure is not complete yet. There is still one more layer, one more truth, one more revelation that Michael must deliver before your spirit can fully step into the freedom waiting ahead. The next unfolding will not just show you who has drained you. It will show you why heaven intervened with such intensity and why your calling has been under such spiritual pressure. Stay close, my child. What comes next is the turning point. Type "I embrace heaven's restructuring" in the comments if your spirit feels the shift happening. Blessing code 929 is now released for those stepping out of spiritual entanglement and into divine clarity. My rising soul, prepare yourself with intention now, for you are entering the most delicate layer of revelation yet. Everything Archangel Michael has been guiding you through, the warnings, the heaviness, the spiritual interference, the subtle unveiling, has been leading to this moment. You have walked through the valley of spiritual fog, through the tension of emotional entanglement, through the quiet realization that not everyone connected to you has been aligned with your elevation. But now, the realm of heaven is ready to show you the deeper truth that has been weaving itself beneath the surface of your life. The reason the interference began in the first place. Michael stands before you not in anger now, but in solemn authority. His wings hover like shields of light, and his presence grows more grounded, more deliberate, more still. He is preparing you for understanding, not confrontation. For insight, not fear. For clarity, not chaos. The intensity of the message you first received, the urgency, the sternness, the divine impatience, was never about punishing you. It was about positioning you. It was about shaking you awake so you could finally see what heaven has been defending you from. My child, this entire spiritual battle around your life is happening for one reason. Your destiny has reached a point of activation. Something within you, your gifts, your purpose, Your next chapter has begun to awaken with a force that the unseen realm cannot ignore. The moment you touched this threshold, both light and darkness took notice. The angelic realm prepared to advance you. The opposing realm prepared to distract you. And that is why interference hath been so subtle, so emotional, so relational, because the enemy cannot stop what God wrote for you, but it can try to delay your awakening long enough for you to sabotage your own path. Michael has seen the battle lines forming around your spirit. He has watched as divine timing drew closer to you, as doors began opening in the unseen before they manifested in the physical. And because of this, forces that once ignored your life have suddenly grown interested in your direction. They began using familiar people, familiar environments, familiar energies to keep you spiritually heavy, emotionally drained, or mentally fogged. Why? Because as long as you feel weighed down, you hesitate. And hesitation delays destiny. But heaven has declared that this delay must end. This is why Michael's message reached you with such force. This is why he warned you not to test his patience. This is why the message flashed onto your screen as if pulled from the heavens themselves. He is not angry with you. He is desperate to protect the moment your life is entering. Your next chapter is not a small shift. It is a divine turning, a spiritual unlocking, a life-level transition where heaven prepares to hand you assignments, blessings, and alignments that your spirit has been unknowingly preparing for. But in order for you to receive what is coming, heaven must cleanse the environment around you. Heaven must break attachments that drain you. Heaven must silence voices that confuse you. Heaven must expose influences that weaken you. You cannot step into divine elevation carrying people or energies that would sabotage your momentum. Understand this deeply. The exposure happening in your life now is a sign of promotion. It is not loss. It is not rejection. It is not God taking something from you. It is God clearing the path before you rise. And Michael is the one leading this clearing. He has watched the way you have questioned yourself. He has watched the way you have searched for answers in your own strength. He has watched the way you have absorbed emotions that were not yours, thinking you were simply being compassionate. But heaven did not design you to carry the spiritual weight of others while ignoring your own calling. This imbalance ends now. Something sacred is beginning to form around you. A spiritual opening. A divine opportunity. An inner rising that will soon unfold in your outer life. You may have felt a strange anticipation inside you lately, a restlessness, a stirring, a sense that something is coming. You may have noticed your thoughts shifting, your desires changing, your spirit becoming sensitive to what once felt normal. This is the preparation of heaven. You are being positioned for what is yours. But here is the deeper truth Michael needs you to understand. The person whose energy has weighed you down was not sent into your life to destroy you. They were sent into your life to reveal your need for discernment. Their presence has been a spiritual mirror, showing you the ways you give too much, the ways you ignore your intuition, the ways you prioritize peace over truth, and the ways you allow emotional obligation to cloud spiritual direction. This revelation is not about exposing them. It is about elevating you. And because your heart is pure, Michael knows you needed clear, divine intervention to sever the attachment without guilt. This is the season where your spiritual radar becomes fully activated. You will sense imbalance before it manifests. You will feel the shift in energy before words are spoken. You will know who is aligned with your calling and who is not. You will no longer be easily swayed, easily drained, or easily distracted. Michael is not just removing interference. He is strengthening your discernment so you never fall into the same spiritual entanglement again. You are stepping into a time where heaven's guidance will feel stronger, clearer, louder. Signs will appear quickly. Intuition will sharpen. Dreams will speak. Synchronicities will unfold. This is the mark of activation, the evidence that your destiny is no longer sleeping beneath the surface. It is rising, and heaven will not allow anything to hinder it. What comes next will reveal the final reason Michael intervened so forcefully. The truth he is about to show you will complete the puzzle and set your spirit free from every remaining chain. Type "I receive heaven's activation" in the comments if your spirit feels the rising. Blessing code 300 is now released for those stepping into divine purpose. My ascending soul, breathe gently and listen with the full attention of your spirit, because what Archangel Michael is preparing to deliver now is the final unraveling of the hidden truth that has been pressing against your life. Everything you have walked through in this message, the spiritual interference, the emotional entanglement, the quiet draining of your energy, the subtle warnings, the rising clarity, has been leading you toward this moment. This is the moment where the deeper purpose behind Michael's anger reveals itself with precision. Not anger at you, but anger for you. A holy, protective fire aimed at the forces that attempted to derail your spiritual trajectory at the exact moment heaven marked you for elevation. The truth is this: you have been under spiritual observation. Not in a fearful sense, but in a divine sense. Heaven hath been watching the unfolding of your destiny, monitoring the timing of your breakthroughs, preparing the energy of your next chapter. But the opposing realm has also been watching, searching for vulnerable entry points, attempting to interfere before you could fully awaken to your power. And the most effective place for that interference was not in your finances, not in your opportunities, not in your physical world, but in your relationships. Because relationships are doorways, emotional bonds are access points, and someone connected to you, someone you trusted, someone you extended compassion to, carried an open spiritual doorway of their own. This doorway allowed energies around them to seep into your atmosphere without your awareness. Their fears became your anxiety. Their confusion became your indecision. Their frustrations became your emotional heaviness. Their wounds echoed through your spirit. Their spiritual instability created ripples in your peace. You were absorbing these shifts because your heart is pure and your empathy is strong. But Michael, who sees beyond the surface of human behavior, recognized that this connection was beginning to interfere with heaven's timeline for your life. The moment your destiny entered its activation stage, the interference intensified. You may have noticed that the person in question began acting differently as you grew stronger. You may have sensed tension where there once was comfort. You may have felt a strange disconnect between your soul and theirs. You may have noticed that whenever you gained clarity, something in them unintentionally pulled you back into confusion. This is not because they are malicious. It is because their spirit is unprepared for the elevation you are stepping into. Your rising exposes their instability. Your awakening highlights their shadows. Your clarity disrupts their internal chaos. And without realizing it, they became a weight heaven can no longer allow you to carry. Michael's anger was ignited not by their humanity, but by the spiritual imbalance that began influencing your direction. You were at risk of dimming your own light to match their energy. You were at risk of shrinking your potential to maintain the comfort of the bond. You were at risk of delaying your calling because someone else's emotional storms were merging with your inner world. And heaven refused to let your destiny be compromised by familiarity. The core revelation is this: the person who has been draining your energy has reached the spiritual limit of the role they were meant to play in your life. Their season has ended, even if your heart has not fully accepted it yet. Heaven is preparing to reposition them, not from cruelty, but from necessity. You are approaching a level of calling where not everyone is qualified to stand beside you. Some relationships are stepping stones, not lifelong anchors. Some connections awaken you, but cannot grow with you. Some individuals help shape your heart, but cannot accompany your elevation. The exposure you are about to experience will not merely show you who they are, it will show you who you are becoming. You will begin to see how your spirit has outgrown certain conversations. You will recognize how your mind has expanded beyond the limits of their perspective. You will feel how your energy rises when they are absent, and how it dips when they are present. You will sense that you are being lifted into a different spiritual frequency, one they cannot match without healing they have refused to undergo. And heaven will no longer let your calling be anchored to someone unwilling to rise with you. This revelation may feel bittersweet. It may surprise you. It may break something tender within you. But it will also liberate you. For the first time in a long time, you will feel your inner power returning. You will feel clarity becoming your normal state, not a temporary moment. You will feel alignment taking root in your daily life. You will feel heaven's guidance moving within you like a current. And you will finally understand why Michael fought so fiercely for your attention. You were never meant to carry someone else's spiritual weight into your next chapter. You were never meant to sacrifice your destiny for emotional loyalty. You were never meant to stay tied to an energy that drained your purpose. Your calling is too significant, too divinely orchestrated, too time-sensitive for you to remain entangled in anything that weakens your ascent. In the coming days, expect clarity to arrive through moments you cannot ignore. Expect conversations that reveal truth without effort. Expect emotional shifts that show you where your spirit is naturally detaching. Expect your intuition to speak louder than ever. Expect heaven to align circumstances that gently but firmly move you into a position of freedom. Michael is clearing your path, not for loss but for elevation. Not for loneliness but for alignment. Not for separation but for liberation. And now, the final revelation waits in the wings. The one that will complete this spiritual transformation and reveal the full purpose behind the message that first flashed onto your screen. Stay steady, my child. The completion of this divine warning is near. Type I receive heaven's final revelation in the comments if your spirit is prepared for the completion of this message. Blessing code 1212 is now released over those who walk forward with courage. My destined soul, gather your spirit now, because you have reached the final chamber of this divine unveiling. Everything that Archangel Michael has been revealing to you, the urgency, the hidden interference, the draining connection, the spiritual entanglement, the rising clarity, has been preparing you for this final truth. This is the moment where heaven speaks without veil, without metaphor, without hesitation. This is the moment where Michael reveals why he warned you with such force, why he flashed the message before you as if time itself were collapsing, why his anger burned as fiercely as his protection. You have been walking toward this revelation from the first word, and now you stand on the threshold of complete understanding. The truth is this: your destiny is entering a season that will not allow contamination of any kind. Not emotional contamination. Not spiritual contamination. Not mental contamination. Not relational contamination. Heaven has drawn a line around your life, a circle of fire so precise that anything misaligned, anything unstable, anything unresolved, anything spiritually heavy cannot cross into your next chapter. You are being set apart, not as punishment but as preparation. The calling on your life is entering activation, and once activation begins, heaven will protect it with a fierceness you have never witnessed before. Michael's warning was not about fear. It was about timing. You are stepping into a divine appointment that has been waiting for years, perhaps your entire life. A turning point that shifts your path forever. a spiritual unlocking that releases gifts, clarity, and opportunities aligned with your true purpose. But this elevation requires clean energy. It requires spiritual precision. It requires emotional stability. And heaven could not allow you to carry into this next season anything or anyone who would drain your strength, distort your clarity, or dilute your light. The person whose energy had been connected to you, the one whose presence stirred confusion, heaviness, and subtle imbalance, was part of a spiritual lesson, not part of your spiritual future. Your role was temporary, and heaven is now ending their influence in your life. The exposure you are about to witness will finalize that separation. You may see something in their behavior that breaks the spell of familiarity. You may feel a sudden shift inside you that makes emotional attachment dissolve. You may experience a dream that reveals their spiritual impact with unprecedented clarity. However it comes, you will not be able to ignore it. The truth will settle into your spirit as if it had always been there, waiting for you to open the final door. Michael has been guarding this truth carefully, waiting until your heart was strong enough to receive it without fear and without guilt. He knows your compassion. He knows your loyalty. He knows how deeply you feel. But he also knows how easily your heart can be pulled into storms that were never meant to be yours. That season is ending. That vulnerability is closing. That open access is being revoked. You are being lifted, my child, lifted into a realm of maturity, spiritual discernment, and emotional sovereignty that will change the way you navigate every relationship from this moment forward. But here is the deepest revelation. The interference in your life was never truly about the person. It was about your light. Your rising disturbed spiritual forces that have been comfortable around you for years. Your awakening triggered resistance. Your elevation disrupted patterns that once controlled your path. The moment you began stepping into alignment, everything misaligned began to surface. Michael's anger was ignited because darkness attempted to use relationship as a weapon against your destiny. Heaven refused to permit it. You may not realize it yet, but you are stepping into a season where everything in your life will begin to accelerate. Your clarity, your opportunities, your inner strength, your spiritual gifts. You will feel ideas arriving with speed, doors opening with ease, connections forming with purity, and breakthroughs appearing without struggle. This clarity would not have been possible if you remained entangled with the energy that weighed you down. Heaven has cleared the field so that you can run without stumbling. And now Michael delivers the final truth. Your destiny required this separation. Your calling demanded this exposure. Your purpose insisted on this cleansing. What felt like loss will soon feel like relief. What felt like confusion will shift into perspective. What felt like emotional disruption will become the foundation for discernment you will use for the rest of your life. You are not being emptied. You are being prepared to receive. In the coming days, expect the atmosphere around you to feel different. Expect your energy to feel lighter. Expect your mind to feel clearer. Expect your decisions to feel guided. Expect heaven's presence to feel near. Michael has not just removed interference. He has positioned you in direct alignment with divine timing. My child, stand tall. This is not the end of a warning. This is the beginning of a breakthrough. Everything that was unclear is becoming clear. Everything that was heavy is lifting. Everything that was hidden is being revealed. You are stepping out of entanglement and into elevation, out of confusion and into clarity, out of interference and into destiny. Your life is about to shift in ways you have prayed for but never imagined. Before you go forward, take a moment to like, share, comment, hype this message, and subscribe, because what unlocked clarity in you today might be the same revelation someone else is desperately needing tonight. Let this message spread like light into the shadows of another person's spiritual battle. Type "I step into my destiny now" in the comments if your spirit receives this divine completion. Blessing code 7777 is now released over those claiming their elevation. As Archangel Michael completes this revelation over your life, understand this: every time you support this mission, you become a vessel through which heaven lifts another soul out of confusion and into clarity. You are not donating to a channel. You are sowing into a battlefield where countless hearts are fighting silent spiritual wars. Just as Scripture declares that those who sow into God's light will walk under open heavens, that promise becomes living and active the moment you act. I speak this directly to you now. Your offering becomes a divine echo that strengthens this message and pushes it into the lives of those who desperately need intervention from above. And because this video exposes the darkness that once drained you, your act of support becomes a prophetic declaration that you refuse to return to spiritual bondage. Release your seed boldly through Super Thanks membership with the PayPal link in the description, and watch heaven multiply the blessing back into your life. Stand in your authority now. Heaven commands abundance over every giver.